Susan here. Okay, this is part 5 of the yoke blouse design series where we draped every part of this yoke blouse design. Today we're going to be doing the stylized bishop sleeve with the flat and spread method, and that's what's next. Okay, to achieve this bishop sleeve, I'm going to be using my 3-piece sloper set that I have available on my website. It comes with a front dress sloper, back dress sloper, and my special sleeve sloper. This is a special sleeve that has a gusset engineered inside of the design of the sleeve itself, allowing garments that have this particular sleeve the mobility of lifting your arm without hiking up the entire top. So I'm going to be using this particular one. You can get it on my website. We're going to do the slash and spread method, so let's get started. And first you take your sloper, or you take your pattern without seam allowance, which is the sloper, and you want to trace all the way around the perimeter of that sloper. You want to trace it out and then cut it out. Okay, now I'm going to get another piece of paper. I'm going to do it white so you can see what's going on there. Okay, important guidelines is to know where the back is. I've got the 2 notches and the 1 notch for the front. I have the center line all the way down the pattern. Now I also need the bicep line, or this line that goes perpendicular to that line, so that I can see what's going on. Now we're going to divide this into sections. On the bottom, I'm going to separate it in inch increments. I'm going to do it on the other side as well. And then I'm going to carry a line all the way from that inch increment on the bottom to the actual back notch and put a line. I'm going to do the same thing to the front. Now we have to divide up here as well. This is a wider area than here. So I'm going to be putting approximately 1.5 inches across, little marks like this. And I'm going to connect those to the bottom lines. These will be the slash lines to spread this design. I don't plan to give any extra gathers on the top of this cap. I want it to be nice and smooth. It has, again, that extra little gusset area here that this sleeve has incorporated inside the design of itself. So that makes it really nice. I'm going to spread it quite large on the bottom, but I'm going to do something that's more fitted on the side. So before I get to that, I'm going to fold this in half, because I want it to be an unusually fitted underneath. So I'm going to adjust this pattern and pull it in underneath the arm like this, giving an indication of the arm. This is a little trick that I've done in the past of the sloper itself. Now I'm going to lay it here on my paper. I'm going to put an indication of the center of this paper here. Nice little center line. Like that. I'm going to number this on the bottom so I don't lose track of these pieces. I'm going to put them in 8 sections. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way up to the top of the cap, but not completely through, like that, on all these pieces. Now I'm going to lay it on the paper itself This is the center mark here, giving ample room all the way around this sloper for all the changes we're going to be making. I'm not going to be evenly distributing the gathers. I want it because a bishop sleeve has usually more accentuated on the back. And so this is the back area here. So I will be spreading this much more on the back than I will on the front. So this is the back area and this is the front area. So if this is the center and I plan to separate it, you have to have some kind of consistency. So I'm going to be saying that on the back half, I'm going to separate them about 1.5 inches. Like that. On the front sections, I think I'm going to just give it 1 inch. So I'm just going to put those 1 inch away from each other. Like that. And here's the last piece. If you like what you have, go ahead and tape it down wherever it needs it. Before we go to the next step, we need to know what the front armhole length is as well as the back armhole length is. So I'm going to measure that, going from the shoulder point here and just measuring on the seam line itself on the muslin. And I'm having just a little bit over 8 here in the front. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the back, which is measuring there at the shoulder level and seam line all the way around. And I have just a little bit over 9.5. So that, now I'm going to compare it to the flat pattern. Let's do that now. I'm measuring my back. It's from the center all the way around that to that line. And it's a little bit shy of 9.5, so I'm going to put a little mark here on 9.5. On the front, I'm measuring it. And I have 9. So it's supposed to have a 1/2 inch ease or so. So that's okay, but we can move the cap over if we need to a little bit. So I'm going to just put that mark there. And now I'm going to put in my seam allowance on the cap part of it first. 1/2 inch, parallel markings all the way around this cap. I'm also going to do it to the side seam. So I'm going to put a 1/2 inch seam allowance, putting parallel lines all the way around the design line, all the way to the end on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and cut out just the cap as well as the 2 legs of this sleeve right now. I'm going to fold my sleeve in half. I just want to check this was the center and this is going to be my new center. Make any corrections that I need here. Like that. Now, the important part is you want to put the 2 sides together here so that we can get that bishop poof. And I'm going to pin the papers together on the top, seam line to seam line. Then on the back half, which is right here, you want to just make like a little crease as the sleeve is pinned together here, down here. And where this edge is here, on the back part, this is the back, you want to go down 3 inches and square a line. So I'm going to square a line 3 inches here on the back section. This is then going to be going to nothing on this side, or I would say a little bit lower, maybe a half of an inch down from here, and put a line like that. This is that little puff that you get in the back of a sleeve that's so important on high-end tops. And I'm going to go ahead now with my French curve and give it a shape rather than just a triangle there. And just shape it as best I can. Once you have what you like, then from that portion, you can do the seam allowance. So I'm going to put half of an inch seam allowance around my, not this line, but my new design line for my bishop sleeve. I'm making that little poof. You can change it, you can eye it. This is where being creative and being a designer is what you're all about. And it's what your aesthetic is for the bishop sleeve. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a half of an inch seam allowance all the way around where that is here. I'm going to carry it all the way around this side. I'm going to cut this part out so you can start to see what's going on. Once I have that the way it is, and this is matching up nicely, I can unpin it. This is the back part of where the sleeve is. That's where the fullness needs to be the lowest. And then you have to carry it over to the front part. And this is where you can freehand it, you can use your French curve, whatever you feel you want that shape to be. So now I'm going to cut it out on the design. Line like that. Then on the cap, you need to make sure when you fold it in half, you have to have the front is going to be a little bit narrower than the back. So if this is not right, you have to fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and take just a little sliver off of that. Now let's go ahead and cut this out of muslin and see what we have. And then I'm going to cut it out. Make sure you put your notches. This is the 2 notches for the back part, the center notch, and the front. Now I'm going to sew this together here underneath and put a gathering stitch on this hem part of the sleeve, and I'll be right back. Let's go ahead and ease this here and gather the hem to the desired width to see if we like what we've got going on here. Distributing it nicely on this side as well as this side. Okay, let's get it on the dress form now. Okay, the proper way to get it on the dress form is to start underneath the arm and put a pin inside of the muslin, taking the center or the seam line of the sleeve underneath the arm to the seam line of the blouse. And then actually pinning it like you would be stitching it along the bottom half of that sleeve. Do it to the back as well. And you want to go up to about where the notch is. So you have it pinned all along inside there to the notches. Here's the front notch, that's the back notch. Now you're pinning on the outside of the muslin, on the back, just matching up the seam to seam, making sure that this is going to be okay on the cap. I'm going to adjust it if I need to. Carry over to the front. Having that stitching line helps me to know exactly where I need to pin. Turn it under. There as well. Adjusting where that line needs to be, if it needs to move over. Then make the new markings. This is where the shoulder is here, and this is my new shoulder, as well as my new sleeve center indication. Now we're going to be doing the finishing, which will be the placket that's going to be in the center front to get this blouse on, and the little cuff for the sleeve itself. There it is, the yoke blouse design in a great green silk crepe de chine. Make it on your own, guys. Watch all 6 parts and learn every part of this yoke blouse design and make yours today. Woohoo! Enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.